Earlier in this program, we talked about the fact that the most important work you do is thinking. And in this session, you're going to learn the qualities of top salespeople and how they think most of the time. Because here's what I have found. When you think like the top people, you will act like the top people. When you act like the top people, you'll soon get the results that the top people get. There is a law in psychology called the law of correspondence. This law says that your outside world corresponds to your inside world. It says that your outside world is a mirror of what is going on inside of you. So if you want to change anything on the outside, you simply go to work to program your thinking on the inside, and it happens on the outside automatically. So when I was starting off in sales, a top salesman told me that the top 20% of salespeople make 80% of the sales. And I decided that I wanted to be in the top 20%. This whole idea of being in the top 20% was a turning point in my life. And then I started to ask a question, and this question was so powerful, I started to ask, why is it that some salespeople are more successful than others? I saw salespeople who are earning 10, 20 times as much as others, and some salespeople who are struggling and broke and worried about money all the time. This question changed my life when I started in selling many years ago. You see, when I started, I didn't get any sales instruction. Nobody taught me anything. I got the 3-part sales training program. Here's your cards, here's your brochures, and there's the door. Go out and talk to people. So I went out and talked to people like a marble in a can, rattling around. I'd get up in the morning and I'd get dressed and I'd just go and knock on doors, and I would say whatever fell out of my mouth. As a result, I struggled for many months, barely earning enough money to survive, while all around me, other salespeople were selling and earning much more than me, but they didn't seem to be any smarter or work any harder, and I couldn't figure out the reason. My biggest breakthrough was the discovery of the 80-20 rule. 20% of the salespeople make 80% of the sales. But here was the great discovery. 80% of sales success was mental. Only 20% was actual technical skills that you learn in sales courses or books or audio programs. And the most important factor that I discovered, and this has since been validated by extensive university research, the most important factor for sales success is self-esteem and self-confidence. With high levels of self-esteem and self-confidence, you can sell well and make a great living in any market. And in this session, you're going to learn how to build unshakable levels of self-esteem and self-confidence. I'm going to teach you how to set big goals for yourself and your career, and how to practice the thinking skills of top salespeople. Now, there's 7 qualities of top salespeople in every field or industry worldwide. Let's look at them one at a time. Starting point, maybe the most important of all in 22 years of research into top salespeople, is top salespeople are ambitious. They have an intense desire to be successful in selling. If you have enough ambition, enough drive, if you have enough hunger for success, nothing can stop you. I had a gentleman come up to me in a seminar recently, and he asked me, he said, well, I have no ambition at all. I have a good job, I make an average living, and I don't care if I make any more. What can you tell me? And I said, I can't tell you anything. I can't help you at all if you're not ambitious. I have asked people in my seminars for more than 20 years, why did you come to the seminar? And what I found is that every one of them came because they were hungry to learn more, to be more successful. All top people are ambitious. Now, the fact is, the top 20% of salespeople make 80% of the sales and earn 80% of the money. Now, why is this? I couldn't believe it. When I first heard this, by the way, I was really set back and I was discouraged because I had never been in the top 20% of anything. I had never gotten good grades in school. I had quit school without graduating. I had worked at laboring jobs. And now they're telling me you have to be in the top 20% to earn big money. And then I learned something that changed my life, and it may change yours. I learned that everybody who's in the top 20% today started in the bottom 20%. Everybody who's in the top 10% of money earners today was at one time in the bottom 10% of money earners in selling. Everyone who is at the top of your field at one time did not even know that your field existed and is now doing very well. And what other people have done, you can do as well. You just have to learn how. So what I found is this, is the top people make a decision to join the top 10 or 20%. Now here's another discovery. If you don't decide to be the best in your field, to be in the top 10 or 20%, you automatically become average. You automatically default to a lower level of performance. You see, you never get into the top 10 or 20% accidentally. You have to make a decision, and then you have to work at it for a long time before you get there. But the decision comes first. Now, top salespeople are determined to be the best. The lack of a commitment to excellence is to automatically become mediocre. Nobody grows up and said, when I grow up, I'm going to be average or mediocre. I'm going to make too little money and worry about money all my life. No, but because they don't decide to become excellent, they automatically become mediocre or average. Don't let that happen to you. Now, a second quality is that top salespeople are courageous. The biggest single obstacle to success in life is fear. All kinds of fears. Fears of poverty and fears of failure and fears of ridicule and fears of embarrassment. Fear holds people back. But what we find is that top salespeople recognize this and they continually confront the fears that hold most people back. Now here's an interesting discovery, is if you confront a fear and you do the thing you fear, the fear goes away. If you allow the fear to control you and you back away, the fear grows. Glenn Ford, the actor, once said that if you do not do the thing you fear, the fear controls your life. But if you do the thing you fear, the fear gets smaller and smaller and finally disappears. So the only way to overcome fear is to confront the fear and do it anyway. The fear of failure is the number one obstacle to success. Now, it is not failure itself, because you and everyone else has failed many, many times. It didn't kill you. A friend of mine once said, give it a try. No one is going to die. When you try something new or different, when you call on a new customer or try a new method or technique, don't be afraid. No one's going to die. You're just going to learn something. But it is the fear of failure that acts like a brake on the performance of most people. And the fear of failure is summarized in the words, I can't. I can't. I want to, but I can't. Whenever you find yourself saying the words, I can't, recognize that it's the fear of failure coming to the surface. Now here's a key discovery. Success is only possible with temporary failure over and over again. In other words, you cannot succeed without failing. Every great success in every field in the world has failed over and over again, and learn from each failure and become stronger and better and smarter, and eventually they fail less and less and succeed more and more. Now the second fear that holds us back, it's a real killer in sales, is the fear of rejection. It's the fear of embarrassment. It's the fear of ridicule. It's the fear of calling on new people. It's the fear of hearing the word no. Now, one of the things that changed my life is when a top salesperson told me at the beginning of my career, don't worry, he said, rejection is not personal. Rejection is not personal. If someone says, no, I'm not interested, I don't want it, I don't like it, I can't afford it, it's not personal. It's just an automatic reaction to any offer of a product or service in a busy society where the customer is offered products and services all day long. So don't take it personally. Smile and say, well, thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. And go and talk to someone else. Now here's a wonderful discovery, and I call it the power of no. The power of the word no. It says basically this, the more times you hear the word no, the more you will hear the word yes. The more often you invite people to say no to you, the more sales you will make. I've worked with companies, by the way, that have a little contest. And the contest is how many no's can you get in the course of a day? And they'll find that the people who go out and come back at the end of the day with the greatest number of rejections are always the people who make the greatest number of sales over time. So your job is to eagerly seek out people who say no, knowing that every no that you hear moves you closer to a sale. Now, the third quality of top salespeople is that top salespeople are committed to their work. They put their whole heart into their work. They don't dabble at it with their fingertips. They believe in their companies. They believe in their products and services. They really think that their company is a great company, and they really think that their products and services are really great products and services. And by the way, if you don't really like your company, or you don't really like your products and services, it may be that this is not the right place for you. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your company. It just means that maybe there's a bad fit between you and the company. Now, another characteristic of top salespeople is they believe in their customers and they want to help them. They want to help their customers. In fact, top salespeople become emotionally involved in their sales work. They really care about their customers. They want to make their customers happy. In fact, there's nothing that hurts a top salesperson more than to think that their customers is not happy with their product or service. Another characteristic of highly committed salespeople is they believe in themselves and their ability to succeed. They believe that they are going to be big successes in their field. They're totally committed to themselves. And when you develop those three levels of commitment, commitment to your product, commitment to your customer, and commitment to yourself, you become a totally different person. Now, the fourth quality is that top salespeople are professional. They see themselves as consultants and advisors, not just as salespeople. Now, how do they behave? Well, they ask good questions and they listen carefully to the answers. I always ask my audiences, I say, if you called a consultant into your business and the consultant was sitting there, how does a consultant consult? And they say, well, the consultant would ask questions. That's right. And when do you call a consultant in? If you call a consultant, they ask when you have a problem and you need an expert to help you solve the problem. Yes. And remember, every person who needs a product or service has a problem that is not yet solved. So top salespeople look for customer problems that their product or service can solve. And they ask a lot of questions, almost like digging for gold. They ask a lot of questions to search for the product or the problem or need that their product or service is ideally designed for. Top salespeople who see themselves as consultants see themselves as working for the client. They see themselves as a partner with the client, as helping the client, as on the side of the client to help the client make a good decision. If you have that attitude, not only will you get the sale and the customer, but the customer will buy from you year after year after year and tell all their friends. Now, a fifth quality of top salespeople is that they are responsible. In a way, you could probably put this as number one. It's number one in virtually every single book on success. Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, chapter number 1 is be responsible. Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, chapter number 1, accept responsibility. In all my work, what I have found is that the characteristic of superior people is that they accept higher levels of responsibility than average people. Now, as a salesperson, how do top salespeople see themselves? Well, they see themselves as the presidents or managing directors of their own personal sales corporations. They act as if they own their own business. They act as if they are responsible for all results. They see themselves as responsible for planning and organizing each day and for getting results during the day. They see themselves as responsible for making sales. No matter what else is going on, they know that they're not on the payroll to sit around the office, to play on the computer, to read the paper, or to go to Starbucks. They see themselves as responsible for making sales because it's their company. And they know that making sales is essential to the health of their business. People who are responsible refuse to criticize or complain or to make excuses or blame others. Now here's an interesting discovery. You can either feel powerful or you can feel powerless. Whenever you criticize or complain or blame other people, you lose all your power. Whenever you accept responsibility for yourself and your work, you gain power and you feel stronger. So see yourself as the president of your own company. See yourself as completely responsible for results. And then keep saying to yourself, I am responsible. I am responsible. And refuse to blame others or the competition or the marketplace if you're not making sales. Point number 6, top salespeople are thoroughly prepared for every sales call. Now, thorough preparation is the mark of the professional salesperson. They engage in 3 types of preparation. The first is called pre-call research. In other words, they learn everything they can about their customers in advance of the first call. Where do they learn about their customers? They go on to the internet. They talk to other people. They learn everything they can so that they are prepared. Now, the second part of preparation is called pre-call objectives. Is they determine their goals for each call, and they write out the questions they're going to ask. And they answer this question: how will you know that this has been a good call on this prospect or customer? And they are clear in advance what they want to accomplish in this meeting. And the third part of preparation is called post-call analysis. Immediately after talking to a customer, they write down every detail of the call afterwards. Whenever I work with customers, I always write down details. If I'm on the telephone, I write down every single word the customer says. If I'm speaking to them face-to-face, I take notes when I'm talking to them, and afterwards I add to those notes. Because no matter how smart you are, your memory is weak and you'll forget 80% of everything you heard in a sales conversation by the end of the day. You'll forget 90% by the next morning. But if you write it all down, you will capture it on paper and you can review it later prior to your next call. Now, the 7th quality of top salespeople, and this was a life changer for me, is top salespeople are continuous learners. When I discovered personal improvement and continuous learning, it changed my life, and it changes the life of every other person. That you can learn anything you need to learn to rise to any height that you desire. If you want to make much, much more money, just learn the things that people making a lot of money have learned. So top salespeople read in sales 30 to 60 minutes each day. If you get up in the morning and instead of watching television or reading the paper, you just read a chapter or 2 from a book on selling, each week you'll read 1 book. In a year you'll read 50 books. In 10 years you'll read 500 books. You'll be one of the best educated and highest paid people in the world in your field in just a few months or a few years. Top salespeople listen to educational audio programs in their cars and when exercising. You see, the average person, according to the American Automobile Association, sits in their car 500 to 1,000 hours each year. If you turn driving time into learning time, if you turn your car into a mobile classroom, a university on wheels, if you do that and learn all the time you're driving, you will get the equivalent of almost full-time university attendance every single year just listening to educational audio programs as you drive from place to place. Top salespeople attend additional courses and seminars an average of 4 times a year. They don't wait for their company to arrange the seminars. What they do is they go out and they find sales seminars. Many of my students will fly across the country because they saw my seminar on the internet. They'll fly across the country to take a 1-day seminar. And I say, how can you justify the cost and expense and time? You know what they say? They say, last seminar I went to, I increased my income by $50,000 in 2 years. I cannot afford not to go to these programs. So the rule is this: invest 3% or more of your income back into yourself. The payoff of investing in yourself is 10 or 20 or 50 times. For every dollar that you spend on yourself, which is, by the way, a measure of how much you believe in yourself and your future, For every dollar you spend in yourself, you're going to earn $10 or $20 or $50 more over the course of your career, and sometimes over the course of the next year. So remember, you cannot invest too much in yourself at getting better at what you do. Here's the good news. You have the ability to become one of the top salespeople in your industry. Everyone at the top today started at the bottom. And when you start to think and act like the top people, you'll soon get the same results that they do. Now, here are some questions you can ask and answer based on what we've covered in this session. Question number 1, why do you want to be one of the best salespeople in your industry? Question number 2, how would you work differently in your sales efforts if you were guaranteed of success? If you could wave a magic wand and be guaranteed that if you work really hard, you'd be a fantastic success, how would you work differently? Because here's a great discovery. If you do work really, really hard in your sales efforts, you will be a great success no matter what. Question number 3, what are your major sales and income goals right now? How much do you want to earn per year and per month and per week right now? And how much will you have to sell to earn that amount? Now, number 4 is what features or benefits of what you sell, your product or service, do you personally like the most? The parts of your product or service that you enjoy and you like sharing with your customers, you like telling your customers about. Because remember, the more you love your product, the easier it is to sell. Number 5, what benefits of your products or services do your customers enjoy the most? What are the very best things that customers say about your products or services that you could say to other customers? Number 6, how could you behave more like a consultant and less like a salesperson on your next customer visit? What would you do differently to appear as a consultant? So the person would actually think that you're a consultant without you saying anything. Number 7, what would you do differently each day if you owned 100% of your company and were 100% responsible for sales results in your own personal company? And finally, what one action are you going to take immediately as a result of what you have learned in this session?